Everybody, it's Stacy Duffy here, your Denver Metro real estate resource. And today I wanted to answer the question of, well, what about affordable housing? Because our Denver market does not have a lot of affordable housing right now. So I'm going to speak to the City of Denver's affordable housing program. So the DHA program. There are some others out there that the city works with as far as some developers. One is through Elevation, I believe, and a couple others. But there are a very, very small percentage of city-sponsored affordable housing opportunities out there. So right now, and I'll just kind of give you the lowdown on what it is. Everyone has their own little strings, right? So they each have their own programs. Some are deed restrictions, some are covenants, some are if you're buying a new place, what's the qualifications there, and they each have their own classes you have to go to and program for that. And they're not all exactly the same, but they all have some strings that are very similar. So I would say the two, we'll go through them. The biggest strings or the biggest restrictions are really around qualifying to buy it, and then how it works when you go to sell. So qualifying to buy it, the biggest thing, so let's say you're looking on, online on Zillow, or your agent has you set up for an MLS portal, and you see this, oh my gosh, super cute townhouse that's brand new or only a couple years old, and it seems like it's a steal. It probably is part of the affordable housing program. And you cannot buy it to rent it out. I have my investor clients ask me all the time, hey, this is a great deal. I'd love to buy this and rent it out. I'm like, yeah, no, it's not for you. So one of the biggest caveats with most affordable housing programs, at least here in Denver, is that you have to live in the property as a primary resident, okay? You cannot buy the house to rent it. You cannot buy the house, rent it, or, live in it for a year or two and then rent it out. No BRRRR method stuff here. Or house hacking or anything like that. Some of the programs do allow you to rent out a room in the house while you're living in it, depending on how much you're going to rent it for and what your cost is and everything else. There's a whole bunch of requirements there. But the biggest thing is you have to buy it as a primary resident to live in the property, okay? And to be able to buy it, the biggest string there is the income limits. So you can't make too much money. Because if you make $200,000 a year, you don't need to buy an affordable house, okay? I'm sure you'd like to not spend as much as you need to, but these affordable housing is always income limited from what I've seen. So on the Denver Housing Authority, which is a DHA that I've mentioned, the Denver Housing Authority website, I'll link to that down below. They usually have what the median area income limits are, or the median area incomes, and then they have limits on that of, okay, to purchase this particular affordable housing program, you have to be within 30% of the area income to 80% of the area income, average, a median area income. So you have to be within a range of, okay, if you live in Denver, city of Denver, and the median household income for, a single income household is $80,000 or $70,000, you can only make, 80% of that or 40% of that or whatever within a range of that. So you have to meet the income limit, and then you also have to meet the debt limit or restriction that I will say of different housing programs have different limits on this, but generally they'll say, okay, your total housing payment can't be more than X number of dollars of your gross monthly income. So for DHA, at least the one that I was just doing this afternoon, it can't be more, your total housing payment, so that is principal, interest, taxes, insurance, HOA, all of that cannot be more than 35% of your gross monthly income. So if you make too much money or too little, or you have to have more, that total housing payment is more than 35% of your gross monthly income, then you cannot apply, or you can make an offer to buy it, but you're not going to be approved by the city. And the city has to approve the buyers before they can close on those properties. That gets into the second piece about selling them. So those are the biggest restrictions with affordable housing programs. The other thing is, right now, everyone's crawling over each other to buy one because they're really nice properties compared to what else you can get for the price. So that's one side of it. The other side of it comes with the strings of selling it. So a lot of times, most of those will have a restriction on how long, or a requirement of how long you have to own the property before you can sell it. And if you have to sell it before then, you get penalized, right? Because they don't want people moving into this for 1 to 2 years and then moving out. The goal is to make it affordable housing, not cheap rent, okay? So they don't want people moving every year or two. So a lot of times they'll have a 3, 4, 5 year minimum season period or minimum residence period before you can sell the property. If you sell before then you have to pay some sort of penalty to disincentivize you to do that. And yes, the penalty is significant enough where you don't just want to say, oh, screw it, I'll just pay it. It's brutal on some of these. So that's part of the selling piece. You have to make sure that you're not going to sell it too soon. Another part is, how do they keep it affordable? They limit what you can sell it for. You can't sell it for too much, otherwise it is no longer affordable compared to the other houses out there that are comparable, right? So, and this is where each one also has their own structure on how they limit the affordability. So some of them will say, okay, before you sell the house, you have to have an independent appraisal. And let's say the property has appreciated $100,000 in that time. Okay, you can only increase the purchase price by $25,000, or $25,000 above, the purchase price or whatever, or the sales price when you bought it. Another that I've seen is, okay, what did you buy it for? How much money did you put into it? And we're going to limit your annual growth to a percentage, so no more than 3% growth a year or something like that. Essentially, something to restrict the sales price, okay? So the one that I'm doing right now is, okay, well, here's the sales price. The city set the sales price, and then buyers, you can't pay more than that because now it's no longer affordable. You also can't pay any seller costs to incentivize the seller to take your offer, because then that's cheating and that's just giving them more money than what the purchase price, than what they're allowed to sell it for. So another caveat with that is usually whoever your buyer is whatever affordable housing program that is through, whether it's usually through the city sponsor, the city housing authority, or if there's a particular lender that's applying for that or something like that, builder, they're going to have to approve your buyer to make sure that they meet all those requirements and you're not selling it to somebody you're not supposed to. Well, I don't know if you've ever had to get the city to approve something. It's not exactly a quick process. And waiting for the city to say, yep, you're good, can take multiple weeks. For one of these, it's up to 45 days that they have to say, oh yeah, your buyer's good. Well, at that point, your buyer's done the inspection, done the appraisal. You're just trying to close. Closings usually take less than that. They take, 30 days on average, maybe 45. So it can definitely delay the process and cause some complications. And if the city doesn't approve your buyer and says, oh, for some reason we think they make too much money or don't meet the, 35% limit on their monthly gross income for the housing cost or something else, then okay, bye buyer, start over. So there's definitely strings there. You have to understand what you're getting into. You have to read the deed restrictions or covenants or affordable housing limitations for that particular property before you even consider putting in an offer or an application for it. You really need to understand what it is, and a lot of people don't. And you don't realize that when you go to sell, by limiting your sales price, you're limiting how much money you can make on the property. So it's not just, hey, you get to buy low and sell high like everybody else. That no longer is an affordable house. That defeats the purpose, okay? So are there benefits to it? Absolutely. For certain buyers and certain people looking to buy, it's a good option, right? Now you're going to compete with a whole bunch of other people that are in the same boat, so it's hard to secure right now in our current market because there's not many of them. But it's a good option if you meet all of those requirements for income and what your housing payment would be related to your monthly income. You get more for your money. And it's better than renting, right? Because a lot of times if you're going to continue renting, you don't ever get that money back. There is no equity buildup. There is no getting your principal back. So by purchasing, at least you get your down payment and your equity, your principal payments that you're making every month. You get that portion back, assuming that the market condition holds stable and you're not having to take a loss when you go to sell it. But you're not maybe getting as much money as you would if you bought something that wasn't an affordable housing program, because then you don't have limits on the sales price. So if you have a rapidly appreciating market like we've had here in Denver, which is nuts. So year over year, just to give you a little stat, our average single family home sales price has increased $150,000 from last year, same time last year. Yeah, nuts. So if you purchase an affordable housing option, then you don't get all of that money. Now you get more than if you would have rented, but you don't get all of the gain. So like I said, it's got some strings to it. You really have to understand what you're doing, what the program options are. Every program is a little bit different on how they manage that sales price process. And generally, the income limitations to purchase are pretty similar. But just be aware of that. If you're using an agent, ask your agent to help you. If you're not, make sure you try to get as much information as possible on it before you even try to consider that as an option or bank on it. So anyway, if you have more questions, please feel free to leave them down below. I'll help where I can. But I said, like, this is a case-by-case basis. They're really rare. And when they do come up, they're their own rabbit hole of craziness. So I don't have all of the answers. And for my clients, I'm happy to help them with that, but I'm not doing research for a whole bunch of people that just don't want to Google stuff. So, but I'll do what I can. And if you're looking to buy or sell here in the Denver metro area, I would be happy to help. Please feel free to reach out to me directly. My contact information is on my website. Link for that is down below. And if you're looking to buy or sell in a different area and want someone to help you do that, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll need some contact information, so don't just leave me a comment. Send me something via phone, email, text, whatever, through my website. And I can interview some agents for you, see who maybe is more familiar with the affordable housing programs in the other areas that you're looking to buy, and give you some options there. So thanks so much for the time, guys, and have a great day.